Today in the media conference with Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current, very burning, as well as very relevant. The topic is technology and education. But before I will go to the main topic, I would like to inform you that today the world is celebrating World Animal Day. World Animal Day is an international day of action for animal rights and welfare celebrated annually on October 4th, the feast day of Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of animals. The mission of World Animal Day is to raise the status of animals in order to improve welfare standards around the globe. Building the celebration of World Animal Day unites the animal welfare movement, mobilizing it into a global force to make the world a better place for all animals. Media conference with Goel wish you on this day and hope that by celebrating this day will create more awareness for making better place for all animals. Now coming to our main topic, that is the technology and education. Technology ushers in fundamental structural changes that can be integral to achieving significant improvements in productivity. Used to support both teaching and learning, technology infuses classrooms with digital learning tools such as computers and handheld devices, expands course offerings, experiences and learning materials, supports learning 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Close the door.
Build 21st century skills, increases student engagement and motivation, and accelerates learning. Technology also has the power to transform teaching by ushering in a new model of connecting teaching. This model links teachers to their students and to professional contents, resources, and systems to help them improve their own instructions and personalized learning. Online learning opportunities and the use of open educational resources and other technologies can increase educational productivity by accelerating the rate of learning, reducing costs associated with instructional material or program delivery, and better utilizing teacher time. How important is technology in education? The COVID-19 pandemic is quickly demonstrating why online education should be a vital part of teaching and learning. By integrating technology into existing curricula, as opposed to using it solely as a crisis management tool, teachers can harness online learning as a powerful educational tool. The effective use of digital learning tools in classrooms can increase student engagement, help teachers improve their lesson plans, and facilitate personalized learning. It also helps students build essential 21st century skills. Virtual classrooms, augmented reality, AR, robots, and other technology tools can not only make class more lively, they can also create more inclusive learning environments that foster collaboration and inclusiveness and enable teachers to collect data on student performance. Still, it is important to note that technology is a tool used in education, not an end in itself. The promise of educational technology lies in what educators do with it and how it used to best support their students' need. India's school education landscape is facing daunting challenges. The country was reeling under an acute learning crisis, even before the COVID pandemic, with 1 in 2 children lacking basic reading proficiency at the age of 10. The pandemic threatens to worsen this crisis, especially because of the physical closure of 15.5 lakh schools that has affected more than 248 million students for over a year. Combined with the learning crisis is the fourth industrial revolution. That imperative now is to reimagine education and align it with the unprecedented technological transformation. As traditional brick and mortar service delivery models are being disrupted across sectors, the pandemic offers a critical yet stark reminder of the impending need to weave technology into education. India's new National Educational Policy, NEP 2020, is responsive to the clear-on call to integrate technology at every level of instruction. It envisions the establishment of an autonomous body, the National Education Technology Forum, NETF, to spearhead efforts towards providing a strategic thrust to the deployment and use of technology. India is well poised to take this leap forward with increasing access to tech-based infrastructure, electricity, and affordable internet connectivity, fueled by flagship programs such as Digital India and the Ministry of Education's initiative, including the digital infrastructure for school education, Diksha, open source learning platform, and UDISE Plus, one of the largest education management information system in the world. A comprehensive ed tech policy architecture must focus on four key elements: providing access to learning, especially to disadvantaged groups, enabling processes of teaching, learning, and evaluation, facilitating teacher training and continuous professional development, improving governance system, including planning, management, and monitoring process. Cross-country experience and research provides us with crucial insight on what works and what does not. First, technology is a tool and not a solution. Second, technology must be in service of the learning model. There is a danger in providing digital infrastructure without a plan on how it is to be deployed or what teaching learning approaches it would support. Third, technology cannot substitute schools or replace teachers. It is not teachers versus technology. The solution is in teachers and technology. In fact, tech solutions are impactful only when embraced and effectively leveraged by teachers. Conditional on good learning designs, technology holds promise and has incredible potential in enabling greater personalization of education and enhancing educational productivity by improving rates of learning, reducing cost of infrastructure material, instructional material, and service delivery at scale, as well as better utilization of teacher and instructor time. The Indian EdTech ecosystem has a lot of potential for innovation. With over 4,500 startups and a current valuation of around 700 million US dollars, the market is geared for exponential growth. Estimates projects an astounding market size of 30 billion US dollars in the next 10 years. There are, in fact, several examples of grassroots innovation. The Hamara Vidyalaya in Namsai district, Arunachal Pradesh, is fostering tech-based performance assessments. Assam's online career guidance portal is strengthening school to work and higher education transition for students in grades 9 to 12. Samarth in Gujarat is facilitating the online professional development of lakhs of teachers in collaboration with IIM Ahmedabad. Jharkhand's DigiSaath is spearheading behavior change by establishing stronger parent-teacher-student linkages. Himachal Pradesh Har Ghar Pathshala is providing digital education for children with special needs. Uttarakhand's community radio is promoting early reading through bite-sized broadcasts. Madhya Pradesh DigiLeap Lab is delivering content for learning enhancement through a well-structured mechanism with over 50,000 WhatsApp groups covering all clusters and secondary schools, and Kerala's Akshar Viraksham initiative is focusing on digital edutainment to support learning and skill development via games and activities. To craft a cohesive strategy, action needs to be taken on multiple fronts. In the immediate term, there must be a mechanism to thoroughly map and EdTech landscape, especially their scale, reach, and impact. The focus should be on access, equity, infrastructure, governance, and quality-related outcomes and challenges for teachers and students. In the short to medium term, the policy formulation and planning process must strive to enable convergence across schemes, education, skills, digital governance, and finance, foster integration of solutions through public-private partnerships, factor in voices of stakeholders, and bolster cooperative federalism across all levels of government. Here, lessons may be drawn from the Government of India's aspirational districts program on tech-enabled monitoring and implementation that emphasizes citizen engagement, partnerships, and effective service delivery. And to discuss this very, very important topic today, the technology and education, we have a very elite panel with us, those who are authority, those who are expert, and those who are educators. And I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is the former visiting professor, IIM Lucknow and University of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the senior director of Don Bosco Group, Bangalore. He is the director of Aldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurship since 1984. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminar proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director, Controlling Management and Engineering Institute in 2007. Her Highness Governor of Karnataka nominated Dr. Saran to the Senate of Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contributions. He was visiting professor to University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is honorary director of NCR Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran on our show. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, as you know, today the technology is invading or is playing a very, very important role, especially during the COVID-19 we have seen when every classes became virtual classes. And that was the very tough time for educator as well as for the students, as well as for the parents. And we have seen how fast the educators, the teachers learned the new techniques, and they have started giving taking the classes virtually. But whether now, because the colleges, the schools have started reopening in physical, and now the classes are going to be taking place. So whether this technology will be utilized or not, what will be the role of technology? So technology and education, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goel. It is an honor and privilege to be here with you and all the distinguished fellow panelists, Dr. Kurian especially. What the theme underscores is the relationship between two pillars of economy. One is education, the fundamental ground from which all economic activity springs up. The second one is technology, which catalyzes the rate of economic growth. So the basic relationship between technology and education at the outset, I would like to underscore, both of them are complementary and to a large extent symbiotic. Let me restate this point, which is the core of our deliberation today. Technology and education are both collaborative and symbiotic. How is that? The answer will be very simple. I go to the basics so that the viewers and the panelists get a frame of discussion. Technology is defined as a method of doing things. So, when my mother decides to fry soft and fluffy puris at home, she uses a method. The way the dough will be kneaded, the ingredients which will be added, the time at which the ingredients will be added, and the kind of control methods which need to be exercised, be it a strong winter, be it harsh summer. In both the cases, she knows how to control the process of ingredient mixing and maturing, so that every time she gets nice, tasty, fluffy puris in the kitchen. Now, she does this by using a method, and that method can be called properly technology. So she has an objective, she had a set of ingredients, and the method of moving from the ingredients to the objective is technology. What is education? Education by itself is a technology, by the way. There is a raw mind of a young child. There is semi-formed brain of an adolescent. There is nearly full-formed brain of an adult in higher education. For each of these, we have a method to impart certain knowledge, certain skill, certain confidence, certain attitude, which is our objective. Now, what connects the two is two important elements, two blocks. One is curriculum. What will be the content? It is equivalent to the wheat flour and the ingredients. The second one is pedagogy. It is an ancient word derived from two independent words. Peda means child and goji means science or method. So the method of bringing up a child's mind so that it is able to face the existence successfully, live life successfully, pedagogy. Now, over the years, the technology of education, pedagogy is a technology, by the way, intellectual technology, not a physical technology. Then, people came up, all right, children means up to certain age. This is a general word. Pedagogy is generally used, whether you are teaching engineers, you are teaching doctors, whether you are teaching doctoral scholars, or you are teaching primary school children. Pedagogy is common to all. The special one for grown-ups, adults, as we say, is andragogy. That is second one. And less known, which I use in my work most of the times, because corporates have executives and they have to solve problems, they have to be trained, they have to be consulted with. There I use a method which is called heutagogy, Heutagogy. This is a very special case of andragogy for adults, which is a very special case of pedagogy, which is for general. So this side of technology is less known, but this is the reason why the sense in which you presented the case for technology being the driver in the current age, the lever for enhancing the educational impact, the emphasis central government, state government, different governments which you cited, they are very pertinent, are connected together. Now coming to the main aspect in which we said the broad picture is established, I hope, by now. Now let us go to the specific picture. The technology, the way we are using in our discussion today is primarily two of them. One is internet technology, the other is World Wide Web technology. These two combined with other digital technologies, like you very correctly mentioned, virtual reality, augmented reality, machine learning, and the whole family of this latest technology. So let me tell you here one thing, since you mentioned today is the International Animal Protection Day. You see, when I was a student of BSc honors in the year 68 to 71, I will study zoology in the theory lecture class, and then I will have practical classes, lab classes. The first experiment which we did was to cut up a cockroach and find out what its nervous system is, where the ganglia are, where the neurons are. That was the experiment. We took live cockroaches and dissected upon them, and the animal lost its life in service to making me competent to manage life science. Okay? Just excuse me for a moment. Sorry. Now, today, the augmented reality, the virtual reality, the simulation technology has grown to the level that I have to sit in front of a computer terminal, a monitor, or even my mobile handset will do, and physically work on a virtual cockroach without killing that poor animal, insect. So this is one aspect which is very positive, which need to be nurtured, but it is capital intensive. So it requires developing our economy. It also requires a disposition on the part of a state government or a state government or national government to provide more funds to nurture this. This is capital incentive. This requires money. People need to be paid. It is not low cost. Not now in 2021, it is not low cost because the demand is still limited. And you know very well as a business person, until demand is large base, the price does not come down and it doesn't become affordable to all. So a lot of innovation is possible. A lot is possible in technology and education. And I have barely started scratching the surface, Mr. Lal. In our discussion, there are so many rich points that I will have to curtail myself to just introduce them for fellow panelists to build upon so that the viewers get a very accurate, correct, and precise, promising, positive picture for future. Everybody needs to contribute. For example, yesterday, one of my students, whom I taught certain courses for a British MBA course, moved to Australia 2 years ago. He normally calls me on Sundays in the evenings, just before his dinner, time difference being 5 hours approximately. He said that, sir, I'm learning coding as part of my digital training here in Australia. So I said, for practice, why don't you take a simple standard case? I take attendance on a physical register, develop an app that I take it on my mobile handset. There are software available today. In Bangalore itself, many vendors are providing that one. I said, you practice this one. You develop a software where every faculty of mine takes attendance on the mobile set. Then at the end of the week, it does an analysis using machine learning, a specific technology. Some of your viewers may know it. And this is not the place for me to embark on detailed discussion. But using machine learning, I can create an individualized report for each parent that this day, this period was vital for your student, given his ambition, given what you expect from your ward, and this boy attended, and he can take this test, and we will send you the test score. Motivate your ward to take the test. Now, such valuable partnership between me as academic administrator, my faculty as the key delivery resource, the parents who still are shaping, it is India, this is not America. Even at 28 years of age, parents are exercising influence and maybe much beyond. So they all become partners. And this is another second rich area where technology and education will be very, very, hand and glove rich field to work on. I think I should stop now at this point in time, saying that this is an ocean, and ocean has pearls and has valuable resources, minerals and things. Let us treat technology as education in that spirit. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. And as usual, you have given all your own experiences, and by giving those details, you have explained the role of technology. Rather, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran says the education is nothing but technology. And he has given how even for making a puri, it's again a technology. So he says that for everything what we are using, we have to, we cannot separate the education and technology, but there are few things which now, because of the advancement of the research and the technologies, things can be added, value added rather. And he gave an example of about the dissection of a cockroach and it is very, very appropriate because today we are celebrating the World Animal Day, and we know that these poor creatures, whether even the cockroach or frog and others, have been dissected to learn. But now, because of the technology, one can do it at virtual, create a virtual cockroach or frog and do the dissection. So these are the advancement and the uses of technology in education. So what Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran wants to say, that this is an ocean where the technology and education hand in hand can do miracles. And that is what is happening. He also mentioned about the coding thing, which I'm sure our one of the panelists, because in the one of my last media conference, she emphasized how the coding is harming, because nowadays even a 6 or 7 years old child, 8-year-old child started doing this coding thing. So she is going to elaborate that once she will be giving her talk. But what Professor Saran says, that the technology and the education, if used properly, then it can do wonders. But to say that technology is a new thing is not correct. It is from the very beginning, everything, because education has nothing to, nothing but the technology. Only thing is terms are changing, the time is changing, new innovations are coming. So we will be utilizing those things. for the education. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving such a good base, our foundation. Now, I'm sure that other panelists will elaborate more, and our viewers will come to know, because we feel as a layman that technology means the online education or the virtual education. But there are many things which are coming up, which were used earlier also, and which are going to be used in future, and with the advancement, which are going to be beneficial. Yes, there are drawbacks, which we are also seeking. What are the drawbacks, or what are the negative aspects of using the technology or misusing the technology in education? Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Dr. Kurian. Dr. Kurian is MSW, MPhil, PhD. Dr. Kurian is the principal of Alvas College, Moorbidri. He worked from 1991 to 2000 with Koraga tribes of Dakshin Kannada through Samagra Gramin Ashram Ka, which is involved in tribal activism in Karnataka. Dr. Kurian was principal of Alvas College of Social Work from 2000 to 2009. He has been the member of BOE and BOS of Mangalore University. He initiated 16 new postgraduate programs and coordinated and implemented the academic, administrative, and infrastructural and research requirements. He coordinated NAC visit for the first time in the institute and completed the NAC accreditation. He initiated more than 30 certificate courses. Dr. Kurian initiated various teacher development programs. He initiated research-centered pedagogy for postgraduate departments. He is guiding and monitoring the academic functioning of 174 faculty members and 40 departments. Welcome, Dr. Kurian, on our show. Dr. Kurian, you have heard what Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran has mentioned. And Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is of view that it's an ocean, and we have to take out the gems, the pearls from the ocean by using the technology, and which will be going to be benefiting to all the stakeholders, whether the administrator, the teacher, faculty, the students, or the parents. Now, because you are associated with the education, very, very reputed education institution, and before that, you have done lots of social work, and you have seen how the technology can help even in the social work. But today we are talking about the technology and education. We would like to know your views on technology and education. Dr. Kurian, please.
I'm very thankful to Dr. Goel for inviting me, and I'm very sure that Dr. Sudhir Saran, the great teacher of all of us, has put up a very strong foundation for the discussion. Being from a social work background and also an educator, I would look at education and technology as complementary to each other. That's the first statement that I would like to make. Probably, say, as Sudhir Saran sir was rightly saying, education itself is a technology. And if you look at the way it got spread all over the globe, especially in India, and I can take an example of a village, how education as a technology has proceeded, not the use of technology in education. As Sudhir Saran was rightly saying, education is putting a lot of things into a framework, adopting a method to teach it or make awareness among the disciples, maybe students or trainees, whoever, and then see the result. In the pedagogy, we say it's a curriculum, as Sir rightly said, pedagogy and evaluation. So evaluation is an important aspect. And then after this process, there will be another social process preceding this. So this social process is whether it will lead to more inclusion or exclusion. But I'll clarify this point. Say in a village, 20% have higher education possibilities. They went. And in a village around, say in any India village, if you can take last 70 years, you'll find that around 5 to 10% of the population in a particular village has succeeded in achieving the best education, probably global education as well. But what is happening to the last 30% of the people who cannot get into the school itself? It is not only the inefficiency of the school or lack of school. It is an inability of supportive system to use educational technology. So, for example, I'll state a person whose intellectual levels are normal and has a quite community experience and working in, say, is a artisan, is a mason, or is a carpenter. So what is growth in the whole educational pedagogy? Because in the social systems, everybody has been earmarked with certain limitations. So education as a technology did not proceed as we expected in the last 80 or 90 years. So that is why even today we say education has to be generalized. And then we have a statement which we are making today: quality education is important. What we mean by quality education? Quality education is an ability of a person to transform what he learned into action. If he learns medicine, he should be able to practice it in a beautiful way. And if even after learning this, if he is not able to practice, it's not the perfect quality education. That is a very simple definition of quality education that I am putting across. Now, last 20 to 30 years, you see that the new technologies, it could be artificial intelligence, it could be machine learning, it could be Internet of Things, it could be the World Wide Web, that WW, what we have developed, the Internet, and could be the space technology which is helping us so much. All these things have come in, not only for education sector, it has spread across all the sectors of the society, where most of these are handled and been given to the people who can use it, the first instance. In the second instance, who can possess it and access it. So there are 2 points. For example, I'll give quote an example from the current scenario where the COVID has necessitated all the teachers and schools to shift to online or virtual mode of education. In general, we have been saying we have achieved transforming it to a more of a virtual learning. But in practical, being a person who is with the students every day and in a rural area, I'll tell you 2 things have prevented it. One is the whole way we have associated with the technology. In all areas, in all society, there is something called technological lag. The technological lag is the gap between a culture to accept a technology and practice it, and the ability of a society to use the technology. Say, for example, I'll give a simple example. In a rural area, if a doctor goes and injects a medicine, that will be considered as a great curative possibility. Instead, if he administers the same medicine by a tablet, the patients will say it's only tablet is given, a goli diya hai. So injection is a great technology for them. So what I'm saying is there is a cultural lag of getting associated with the technology. Now, when you bridge both the things together, that's education and technology. All of us being teachers have been told by the governments, universities, and in our pedagogical methodologies, we have been asked to use aid of a technology to enhance learning. Use the support of a technology to enhance learning, evaluation, and replanning the whole syllabus or curriculum. This is a cycle. So now this is a mandatory requirement now for quality education. Anybody comes in, any accrediting body come in, they'll ask how much technological advancements that you have made. What is the e-content that you have developed? What is the new technology that you use in your classroom? All these will be very common questions asked to all of us. But if you look at the whole social fabric of it, there are parents, children, and communities who have not accepted technology itself. That's one point. And then the accessibility point of it. So when a technological transformation takes place, for example, I conduct a virtual classroom and give an assignment to a child from a village to bring out something electronically, maybe a assignment, maybe a video. is ability to do it and do it with the required tools vary from various person to various students across the learners. So one important point that I would like to make is, unless education is a generalized and very easily accessible quality education where our learning can be converted into performance. When I say this, I am keeping in mind all those different kind of learners. That means there are different types of learners with different abilities and possibilities. Probably new education policy is addressing little part of it. And the second thing is technology. Usually, if you collect an opinion of any teacher today, after these 1.5 years of lockdown, they'll say virtual classes have to be stopped. We cannot go any with the virtual classes. It has to be offline and a teacher-student interactive mode. But that needn't have to be the fact. But if you can integrate a lot of technology into the classrooms, which requires huge investment, as Sudhir Sharan sir said, in a classroom, if I can get a clarification of a doubt of a student within one fraction of a second, I may not know it. If I have a system in my classroom where I can connect it to anybody, any person, any learned person in the world, and get an instant access to that person and clarify a doubt. Probably 25 teachers together can teach a classroom now. That's a great possibility, because you can initiate a discussion, somebody else can join, somebody else can put in their possibilities. Great possibility. Students can also monitor classroom, manage classrooms, so they can plan their classrooms now. They can get a lot of resources in. So other than that, students themselves can make learners groups and disseminate education to the various rural areas now. That is a big possibility. So then say various social development programs, other than the curricular programs, various social development programs can be integrated into curriculum. Say curriculum change will not be the matter of any professor now. It can be a community, exercise. Every people can bring in a lot of possibilities for that year, and next year you can have a different curriculum altogether. So when you look at the possibilities, that is immense. Since artificial intelligence is in use as a very, very important technology today, each student's learning, his habit, his way of grasping things can also be mapped, and we can prepare modules and different educational pedagogy, or what do you say, the methodology according to each student's requirement. All these possibilities are with the technology. So as I agree with Sudhir Sharan sir in saying one thing, that it has to be invented more. There is a very important urgent need to involve teachers, students, and all stakeholders to find out how better this can be integrated much more into the lower system of education as well as higher system of education. That's one point. The second point that I'll definitely stress upon is, if we do not expedite the access, make this accessible to all people across very fast. If we doesn't do that, there are two things going to happen. One is the technological lag, which I told you earlier. Second is a great big social gap. Whatever the social gap that we have today is going to be much worse and deeper, because the speed of technology, if the implementation of the technological part is not getting expedited. Again, I'll agree with Sudhir Sharan sir, the money will be the matter, because the amount of money and the capital that we have to create around education, especially integrating technology into education, is an urgent need, but it has to be done in a very fast manner, not in a phased manner, because when you do it in a phased manner, the first generation learners or first generation people who get into this technological know-how, say, as you told you now, the language, computer language, coding language learning is a basic necessity from the elementary class now. Unless that, he cannot be a doctor, or he cannot be an engineer, he cannot be a professor anymore. He has to prepare programs according to his requirements. So now, if it doesn't happen fast, naturally there will be much social division, and there will be the exclusion will be very evident. So that will be more dangerous than the inclusion. Whatever we do today, will not help us. Maybe a creamy layer of society would get helped and may see astonishing capital growth and development. But when you consider the society as a whole, all types of learners, all limitations of learners, and all children together, and given our status of society like India, it will not be a great a possibility and idea if you bring in more and more online on any kind of technological intervention into the education. The children may lose both. The traditional things that we have been losing, teacher to student interactions, that also get disrupted, and there will be a great section of society get excluded from education. I'm very worried about that. So other than that, as an idea, it should be the emergency need of the hour to see that teachers should be supported in the classroom with all possible technologies, so that learning will be fantastic, and it will take the whole human community into a next generation of mental growth and a cultural transformation, a great cultural transformation. So education is not only the technology helping us to learn, it changes our orientation to the society, a lot of cultural change, a lot of social barriers can be broken, and a different level of cognitive development can come in the whole generation. I think I've done my points, and thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kurian. As usual, you have also given such a good, I must say, Professor Saran has put the foundation, but you have constructed the first floor, or I must say the complete building of multi-story building on that. Because what Dr. Kurian said is that according to him, the technology is required, but not on a phased manner, but in a very, very faster manner. Because he says the technology is not only giving the benefit for the education, but because of this technological education, it is going to reform the entire society. And that is a very, very big thing. But it is only possible if we will invest more money, because it requires a lot of changes, lots of investment is required, as well as it requires in a very, very faster pace. Because he says, otherwise, what will happen? The creamy layer of the society will get the benefit of this technological development, but the maximum, the people who are in the society will not get the benefit, and then the divide between the have and have-nots will be deeper and deeper. For this, we have to see that the technology should come in a full force, and the government, although their government is promising in National Education Policy 2020, but it requires funding, it requires lots of things. One very important point which Dr. Kurian has mentioned, he says that in the classroom, right now, the professor who is teaching the students, they have a limited knowledge, whatsoever the knowledge they have gained. But because of the new innovations, the student can ask anything, and that time he can consult within fraction of seconds with any expert of that particular field and give the reply. So one very important point, he says that it can happen that tomorrow one class will be taught by 25 teachers at one time. And similarly, the students will be creating their own groups, and then they will be learning, and they will be passing their learning to the villages or those who are underprivileged. And that is a very, very positive aspect, because then the society will develop in the whole, not in the parts. And that is what, because being his career started as a social worker, and his heart bleeds for the society, Dr. Kurian is very much worried about that divide if it will not be passed in a very, very fast manner. But he also mentioned one thing. He says that like a coding thing, it should be learned from the early age. Then only person can be successful as a doctor or engineer or whatsoever in whichever field. So Dr. Kurian is also very much in favor of the technology, but he is only worried that it should not happen, that the technology will help only the creamy layer, because if it will be we will be introducing in a phased way, manner, not in a fast manner. Thank you very much, Dr. Kurian, for giving this point, because these are the things which our viewers should know, that how the technology is not only the virtual learning, but it can change the entire syndrome of the society, which is very important. Not only the education, but because through the education it can change. That is a very, very important point. Thank you very much, Dr. Kurian. I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Dr. Namrata Shukla. Dr. Namrata Shukla is co-founder of Kaizen Mantra, which focuses on training, consulting, and counseling. She is the independent management consultant at Muscat. She has over 12 years of experience in teaching, training, consulting, counseling, and mindfulness. She is a PhD in management CSR from IIT ISM and a certified mindfulness coach from Berkeley UC. She has experience in teaching and training both Indian and international students. Even while teaching, she was actively engaged in training students and making them market ready for jobs. She has designed training programs, especially for BBA and MBA students in the areas of personality development, effective communication, interview skills, among others. Her areas of expertise include communication, personality development, OB, CSR, mindfulness, and stress management. Welcome, Dr. Namrata Shukla on our show. Dr. Shukla, you have heard two join of education, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran as well as Dr. Kurian. And they have given their ideas, and they have given a very, very, I must say, Professor Saran has given a very good foundation, and Dr. Kurian has created a multi-story building on that about the technology and education. Now you are associated, and you belongs to a the different generations from our earlier panelists, and you are seeing the technology from the very beginning of your career, and you are using the technology, as well as you are teaching the students, or you are preparing them for the interviews, the skill development, the soft skills which are required today, and in which that definitely when you are making them to be employable, you are teaching them in such a way that they will know all the technology. We would like to know your views on technology and education. Dr. Namrata Shukla, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Goel, sir, thank you so much. And I also, my greetings to the very learned and experienced panelists. So it was very nice to hear from the previous generation and with so much of experience that they are supporting technology. And on this platform now, since I am from a different generation, but still, I would like to emphasize, yes, there is no field right now that technology has not touched. Now, everywhere, even the most conventional, the occupation that we call agriculture. Agriculture is supposed to be the most conventional form of profession or occupation or whatever sector we may call it. But even agriculture is now thriving on agri-tech. Then we are talking about edtech. We are talking about fintech. But before going or talking about technology, I would first like to emphasize on education, because education is the essence on which, the base on which we are building our future generations. So now let me give me an example. World's best education system is considered to be in Finland. So Finland is considered to be best in terms of providing education to their children. Now, I did a lot of research on why Finland is considered to be one of the best educators. Even here in Muscat, the government is very keen on setting up schools on the basis of the education system that is there in Finland. Now, why is that? That there are less of pressures on children as well as teachers. Like Dr. Kurian said, that if technology is integrated in the education system, what will happen is we can have 25 teachers in one classroom. But contrary to that, the best education systems, what they believe is that to have one teacher for a longer span of time, that is 5 years, 6 years, so that creates a connection between the student and the teacher. So in that case, it's not only the student that is learning, the teacher is also learning and understanding the student. And when teachers, as a teacher also, I feel that when you connect with your students, when you know your students more, you can provide them better solutions, you can provide them better guiding. So that's how a connection between the student and teacher is very, very important for learning. So that, I think, technology lacks, because if technology enables everything, the student will not get that personal touch. As the panelists earlier also said, that most of the teachers now, if you go and research and ask the teachers that would you prefer this online system, most of them would prefer the previous system, that is offline education. Yes, we can integrate blended learning. Now, in favor of technology, I would also like to emphasize now, for example, if I want to teach my child who is in class 6 about mRNA vaccine, now everybody is talking about, everybody knows mRNA, but what the technology is, most of us don't know. So if I want to teach my child about that mRNA vaccine, there are very beautiful animated videos which are self-explanatory. I can explain it because if I have to teach, it would be difficult for me because that is not my background. So earlier, what happened, if I had to teach about a particular subject to children, then I will have to refer to books. I will have to read a lot. I will have to gain knowledge myself, because imparting knowledge, first you have to be rich in the content. Only then you can give it to the future generation. So in that regard, yes, technology has made life very easy. Whatever students want to learn, the accessibility is easy, but accessibility is only to hardly 10% of the population. I think even that 10% is too much that I'm talking about. It is even less. So a majority of the population does not have the access to either devices or maybe internet or other resources. Financially also, many of them will not be able to have the access to technology, but that cannot stop us from providing education. Now, the stage at which Indian economy is right now, that was the same stage at which China was 15 years back in terms of technology I'm talking about. So EdTech started in China 15 years back, and it integrated into the economies, into the lives of people so much that now what the Chinese government is doing, it is cracking down on that, because it has realized 15 years later that it is not helping the students. It is taxing the pockets of the parents of the children, because it's like a competition. Every parent wants their child to be the best. So for that, they do everything. They need to invest, they need to provide all the things, and they need to catch up with the market, whatever is going. So that same thing is happening in India right now. That parents, now what Byju's is doing, it is asking parents that you come to us and we will train your child, we will coach your child. So in that case, what happens is the parents and students both are under pressure. Parents are under financial pressure and children under mental pressure to perform. So that is, learning does not happen. It's a difficult way to learn that ways. So now China has said that these ed tech companies, what they need to do, they need to provide education to all. It should be a non-profit organization, not a profit making organization. Only then they can be sustainable. So in that regard, if too much, like right now at the stage at which we are, 15 years later, we will be at the same stage. Most of our children will be glued to technology rather than learning. So we need to integrate technology in such a way that it does not hamper our future generations. Because most of the time what kids today are doing is they are into consuming the internet technology, social media, coding. And coding, I think, yes, to a certain extent, it is relevant, but for all the fields it's not relevant. When a child wants to get into music, because children are of different skill sets, so we cannot provide the same technology or the same learning to all the children. We have to first understand what a child's requirements are. So for that, I believe that first the education system needs to change, and then technology should be integrated in such a way that it aids. It should not be a substitute for education. Technology should not be substituted for education. Rather, it should be aided in improving the learning process. Like Sudhir sir said very rightly that attendance and classroom things, they can all be created in an app, and it can make the work light for teachers. But then if we are creating an online system, we have to let go of the previous systems. And because creating an online platform with a physical backup or a manual backup is only an added pressure for the teachers. So teachers are not able to focus on learning, making the kids learn. Rather than, they are more focused on their focus is just because of the curriculum. Their focus remains on the curriculum, on how to provide the education, rather than what education should be provided to the students. So like technology is a pinch of salt in the food. Too much of it spoils the food, and a little bit adds taste. So that should be the mantra for the future generations, that like it should be a pinch of salt, not too much of it. So because in the present generation, I see most of the students, what they do is because it's very addictive. Technology is addictive, and anything which has an addictive capability, in the long run it definitely leads to destruction. So health benefits also, if we consider, most of the kids today have eye problems at starting from a very early age, 4-year 5-year-old kids. And that's more because of the interface with technology that they have. So that is one big disadvantage that technology is giving our future generations. And if our future generations are not healthy, I believe health is wealth. Whatever we do in future, our future generations do in future, I think health is the first thing that we need to focus on. So it is impacting the health of the kids. Most of the kids don't go out to play because they are playing games, cricket on the mobile, chess on the mobile. They are not. So when they are playing chess on the mobile, their brain capabilities won't be developed that much as playing with in person. Even playing cricket or football, all the games are there available online. So our kids do not know the pleasures of playing in a field, the pleasures of playing in a park. Most of them, there are people who are encouraging kids to go out and play, which is good for their physical and mental growth. So that ways I feel we need to restrict, that there should be some mode or some regulation in providing technology. And of course, when teachers use technology, I believe that a teacher's mental capabilities cannot be provided with machine learning or artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence can never replace human intelligence, because humans are meant to have emotions, feelings, whatever suggestions we give, so that are based a little bit based on our education and our knowledge, and more on based on the values, the ethics that we have inculcated through the years. So on that note, I would also like to emphasize that we need to make kids of today, we need to inculcate values and ethics in them. So because our kids are also becoming like those robots with artificial intelligence. They are very good in technology. Even 8-year, 10-year-old, they are very good in technology. But we need to focus on overall growth and learning. They don't know how to behave in public. Most of the time, you can find nowadays children are more misbehaved rather than they were in the earlier generations. So that again is one aspect that technology has given us to the future, given to the future generation. So technology should be integrated, but step by step, gradually. Because yes, I understand that we are thriving in a very dynamic environment. Earlier, things used to change in a span of 10 or 20 years. Then it squeezed to 5, and now last year's, things have drastically changed in just 1 year. So we need to slow down a bit, I believe, because if we are too fast, it's like standing under a waterfall and swimming in a river. There are two things. So swimming with the flow of the river and standing under a waterfall, it hits you hard, it hurts you. So we need to be gradual. The flow should be gradual and not sudden. So that's how technology should be integrated. And we also need to consider how, the children who don't have access, the children who are poor, the children, because majority population in India is, at or below the poverty line. So education is everybody's right. So we need, and the future generations will change only when education is imparted on a large scale, with or without technology. So that's my take on that. And over to you, Goel sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shukla, for giving your forthright views. And Dr. Shukla has given a new dimension of our today's media conference. She has given some benefits of the technology, but her main contention is that, which is contrary to what Dr. Kurian said, that according to Dr. Kurian, it should be a fast thing in the fast track, not in the phased manner, in the fast manner. But what she says, it should be in a phased manner. And she has given example that how the children are learning today in a very, very fast way with the help of a video. We can even tell about the mRNA, the vaccine, etc. I also can vouch for it because last month I visited my grandson in London, and there I found that he was knowing, he's only 3.5 years old, but he was knowing the number of states and the number of union territory in India, number of states in USA, and forever the counties in the UK. So I asked my son how he learned so fast. And then he said nothing rocket science. He was just watching the videos which are available. And in the form of songs, they are describing how many, it's like a nursery rhymes, but in how many states are there. So the technology is useful according to Dr. Shukla, but she says that more dependence on technology is very harmful. And she has given the examples of how it is harming the mental health as well as the physical health of the children. And she has given example of China, that 15 years back, the China was in the same state as we are today in India. But this has, and we have seen it's come in the media, that now the education, all those who are giving these types of education, the companies, big companies, overnight, they have stopped everyone. And they says it is because they are taking the money, which the government says it is not allowed. Education is a right for everyone and should be free. So now the government has stopped, but we have to see whether the government will provide through those tools, or they will stop the technology overall. That is not come in the media. But in India, yes, what Dr. Shukla says, we have seen now advertisements are coming. Our celebrities, our Bollywood actors, actresses, they are giving the bites for promoting the education of the technology like Byju's and others. Whether they will be good or not, that the time will say, but according to Dr. Shukla, it is going to harm. And she has also made one more point. She says which is again contrary to Dr. Kurian. She says that instead of 25 teachers in a class, it should be one class, one set of the one teacher with students for more years, so that the teacher and the students' relationship will grow, and the teacher will also learn about the student, and the student will also know more about what is education and how to go ahead. So according to Dr. Shukla, technology is good, but it should not be used in a fast way. It should be in a very, very phased manner, with a very, very careful under the supervision. Otherwise, we are going to face the same problem which China has faced, or we will be facing more problems, because in India the poor students are more, and then there will be a white dot, which she agrees with Dr. Kurian that desperately will be there. There will be a deep gap, but she is of the view that technology should not be used in a fast way. Thank you very much, Dr. Shukla, for giving your views. Although now you have given something which I'm sure our senior panelists will definitely going to rebut or give you something.
I really apologize for being contrary to the views of our previous generations, but that's what my research and my experience says.
No, but we want that, because that's what the advantage of a new generation and the old generation. Although they are not of old generation, except me, but still, what you have given the views. Let us go to the Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran first. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, although I would like you to comment also about what Dr. Shukla has mentioned, but my question to you is, do you think this National Education Policy 2020, which is emphasizing and which is giving more emphasis on the technology use, will be useful? Because you are mentioned very clearly, at which Dr. Kurian has reiterated, at that the money is required for technological thing. And we have seen that although the NEP mentioned very clearly 6% of the GDP, while this budget is even 2 or some odd percentage were allotted. Although the NEP was announced in 2020, when the pandemic was already on, it was announced on 29th or 30th of July 2020. But in the budget of 2021, it was reduced to drastically. So do you think this NEP will be of any helpful for the implementation or the for the fast track of the of our technology in education? Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
The matter is very clear. It is national education policy by a public entity, the government, ministry of the central government. Remember that it has to be contrasted with policy of a private entity, a corporation. When Tatas sit down with their members of the Tata Sun board, when they are making a policy, after articulating the policy they favor, the meeting does not end. Meeting continues in the second part. And the second part is what resource levels are needed and from where are we mobilizing those resources and how are we making sure resource adequacy till the policy is practically implemented in the organization's way of working. These things, by definition, are not in the nature of government. Government is transient. The voters' mood, the franchise is mercurial. It may take a short cycle of 5 years for anti-incumbency to work. It may take 15, 20, 30, 40 years, but the fact is certain. The franchise will turn, and therefore there is a finite longevity of national education policy and other government policy, Niti Aayog and other policies. This is what we have to remember at this point here. And therefore, NEP must emphasize a larger degree of autonomy of education providers, whether they're government or private. IIMs, IITs need more autonomy, and other private players need more autonomy, and the autonomy must be unencumbered. Freedom with conditions is no freedom. So the moment we realize, then within the bounds of the NEP being a public thing, the national Indian entities which are capable of leading the pack, and Ms. Shukla can take heart there. The younger generation and the older generation are never at cross purpose. They're complementary. We may look stupid and dated sometimes, but we are not. We just try to keep you happy and good humor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving your views. Now my question goes to Dr. Kurian. Dr. Kurian, you have heard what Dr. Shukla has mentioned, quite contrary of what you have mentioned. But one thing is very clear. Don't you think the more dependence on technology will reduce IQ and EQ? EQ, not only the emotional quotient, but also the ethical quotient, which is lacking even nowadays also. And I'm not talking of the new generation, otherwise Dr. Shukla will feel offended. We have to give more respect to them. After all, it's our fault, our generation fault, if we cannot educate the new generation properly. Even Dr. Shukla is educating the new generation. I'm talking of the third generation. And if the technology, if we are using technology so much, don't you think the ethical part of the student, of the child, emotional part of the child, and definitely the IQ? Because today I have seen, I'm sure you might have seen, even to calculate 2 by 2 into 3, people wants a calculator. While we used to have those tables of 19 or 20 or whatnot on our tips. So similarly, when we will be using more in the technology, the IQ will go down. Emotional, there will be no emotions because they all become like a robot, as Dr. Shukla mentioned. And ethical values, which imbibed to them by the teachers, they will be lacking. What do you say about this, Dr. Kurian?
Actually, as you mentioned, what Dr. Shukla is mentioning is not contrary to what I was speaking. What I am is of opinion, very clear opinion, technology should be used, not to be misused. Today, the whole technology is revolving around profit making. It is not a use of technology. It is a misuse of technology developed for the welfare of the people. It is patenting, it is, that's what I said, there is going to be a divide. The whole money by using technology gets into the hands of very few to enhance further technology for the use of them. So I don't mean that. And then the second part, as you said, education is skill, knowledge, and value. So I was definitely, I think I spoke about it last also. All the teachers today, whoever is whether in a university professor or a elementary class teacher, will believe and will watch for the classrooms and teachers' interaction. And what I think is, see, why I was saying it has to be fast in terms of accessibility to everybody. It is not that everything has to be implemented in the classroom. See, for example, being a counselor like Shukla, I know the addictive aspect of technology, its misuse. We do not, as she was rightly saying, there should be a clear policy of using. Since you have a technology, you cannot go and sell it to anybody. When radio came in for the first time in the community, you must be remembering it. We had to take licenses because that was a responsible way of using a message that you get. Because radio, you get a lot of message, you may misuse the message. So that licensing is required for use of any technology in terms of good use. So, for example, a person who's only technical, as you are saying, and doesn't have any emotional connect and growth will be a disastrous cancer. So, what is happening now is actually the technology is misused maximum. when I said 25 teachers in a classroom, it doesn't mean that 25 will come. A teacher who's in the classroom can be more equipped now. Say, I'm teaching a topic, something which need to be elaborated in any format. I have equipments ready with me. Otherwise, I need to go back to a book and refer and do all the things, and even then it may not be complete. So that is what I meant by using it in the classroom. So what I believe is technology should not be the kind of a asset of only few in the society. That is been used for making money and also making people getting away from it. That should not be the case. It should be accessible. For me, a tribal child sitting in a remote area is an important person. So how, and then when English education got into our system, even today, it has created a big divide because we could not make it accessible to everybody. A student who studies in an English medium school, a so-called good school in a city, makes it to the big, the higher positions of the society everywhere. So technology is going to widen it further. We are not making it accessible to everybody. We are marketing it. We are converting it as a capital for few. That is my objection. Okay. And then definitely it has to be a very, very careful use of technology. A child of 7th standard, what can be the things that is using has to be put down. And there should be a very beautiful thinkers team behind it for every country and every state and every culture. What can be given to him? It is not the way that we are using your mobile today where everything is open to everybody. It shouldn't be the case. And then we are going to harm the whole generation, not only the younger, older, the whole next 15 generations which are going to come is going to be disastrous. Okay. They can create anything out of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kurian. I'm sure Dr. Shukla can understand that now that there is no generation gap, only thing, and that is happening. That is why that we say the generation gap. There is no generation gap. Only thing is the younger generation is not understanding what the senior generation is explaining, and it happens. But one point which Dr. Kurian has mentioned, I would like to know from you very in a short time, misuse of technology. He also mentioned the same thing. Don't you think the technology is going to, it's already been misused, it is going to be misused and it will be a disaster for the new generation? What do you say about this, Dr. Shukla?
Very rightly, sir. And as you said, that it's not the difference or the gap. Both of us, both the generations think in the same way. It's just that we don't gel. So that gelling comes when, technology is a little transparent. Technology has, the next generation thinks that they know more. And the previous generation also tries to catch up. But obviously, we cannot match up with the rich experience that our previous generations has. So I would say, yes, definitely. That is why I say that technology is being misused. Nowadays, what students do, they will, when you teach something, they will come up with a Google, Wikipedia or some other information from Google that, see, teacher, this is it, and you are wrong. That we never even thought. Whatever our teacher said, we used to accept. Okay, so these are two extremes also. We need to try and understand each other, and that is why there should be, I said, blended learning. Yes, technology is being misused because my children are also very small, so I see the impact of technology on them, their personality. So yes, it is being misused, and we definitely need a very strong regulation policy for technology for each generation also.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Shukla. So viewers, you have seen today how the technology is transforming the complete education and through that the society. But whether we are ready for it, as our panelists have said, two things. One is it requires lots of money to be invested, and secondly, a good regulation. Whether we have those things in India or not, after all, it's not the matter of 1 or 2 years. It's a matter of the entire generation, which is going to be the future of our country. And if we are not serious today, then who will be serious? So please, I request not only to the government, even to the civil society, we ourselves have to think whether we are using the technology properly at our home. Are we allowing our children to misuse it or not? If we will control, then if we will not control, then who is going to control them? So for that, the technology is useful if it is used properly, but if it will be misused, it will be a drastic effect, and it is going to be disaster for the society. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, Newsgaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you everyday new topic. And tomorrow our topic is loneliness. And our panelists are Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, one-man expert commission on labor, Government of India, Mr. Niloli P. Rajshekharan, writer, music composer, and CEO of Guru Management Consultants, Bengaluru, and Dr. Rashi Agarwal, senior psychiatrist, Meerut. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Thank you very much, Dr. Kurian, and thank you very much, Dr. Shukla, for enlightening all of us, including me. And I am sure all our viewers are very much enlightened today about the technology and education. Thank you all the viewers for watching our show, and I am sure that today's our viewers are also enlightened, because it is not for them, it is for their children, for everyone, and for the entire society, which is very, very keenly one has to watch, and one has to see, and one has to raise their voice if technology